What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here. I'm in the LiveX studios. I am not in the studio, though. I'm outside the control room, as you can see, because I don't have anyone to run things. Everyone's on a job or in Vegas at a conference, so I'm kind of here on my own. A couple people left in the office. But as far as studio technicians go, I'm at the mercy of my laptop. So I hope you'll forgive me. We do a little extra cheese here today. Subscribe here on YouTube, please. I want to get those subscription numbers up before the draft. I hope everyone's doing well on this first day of the Packers offseason. Packers reporting for the start of the offseason program this afternoon. Nag's most dominant Packer ever, Julian. It's got to be Don Hudson, right? Just by sheer numbers. Most dominant Packer I ever witnessed, though, was Brett Favre, without a doubt. Nag's thoughts on Hakeem Butler. I don't know. I go back and forth, kind of. Purely by the tape, I love him. I don't know where you value him in this draft, but that's where smarter minds than mine come into play in the Green Bay Packers personnel department. What's up, man? Did Rodgers report? Yes, of course he reported. Got a $500,000 bonus to report. I hope he reported. Yes, he reported. I actually asked because I had a couple people ask me on Twitter. So I asked people who would know inside the building. And yes, Rodgers is in attendance today. No word on Gunter. No, Zachary. Absolutely nothing. Mum's the word, which makes me feel like there's probably nothing pending anytime soon. Gunter signed with the Cards. There you go. Mike Daniels looked possessed this AM. Yeah, that video did a good job of making those guys look ready for work. There's no doubt about that. And he whispers on the LaFleur Rodgers icebreaker. Brandon, I heard they're playing cards. No, I don't. I have no idea. No clue. What's up? Loving the extra content. Thanks, Anthony. I'm just trying to give you guys as much as I can. I'm sorry that the dailies haven't been going up with regularity. It's just all about bandwidth here in the studio. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to do the extra cheese stuff on my laptop, because I know, you know, it's the off season, but there's still stuff to talk about. People still want to talk Packers, and I want to talk Packers with you guys. So I'll start doing these pretty much every day if I can't get, you know, used to the studio. So, Aaron, why are the Packers so closed off compared to a lot of the other teams? No media allowed this week. Well, no. It's not a question of no media allowed. They just haven't set when the availability is going to be yet for the players. But, you know, the start of the offseason program, you know, you don't get to go in and watch them work out, which is what they're doing essentially now. It's all strength and conditioning stuff. They don't meet and talk about football. But yeah, they'll undoubtedly release they'll have some kind of announcement either later today or tomorrow morning about when availability with a number of players and the head coach will be. I suspect that'll be either tomorrow or Wednesday. But they are a little more closed off when it comes to the media stuff. I think that's a residue. I used to think it was from Ted Thompson, but now I think it's from Mark Murphy, trying to keep things on the conservative tip. I don't think they're ever going to be as media friendly and or as outgoing with the press as some of their NFL brethren. I think that hurts them in some areas, and I think it's fine in most areas. You know, it is funny talking to people inside that building, inside the organization, who admittedly, point blank, say, yes, we understand, we know we are conservative on social media, say. And it's just a matter of fact for them. And I always want to say, what does that gain you? I understand the idea that, you know, there's a brand that they have to kind of augment and adhere to and want to be a part of and extend. I get all that. But look, you know, time marches on. The NFL is cyclical, and it won't be, you know, we'll be here before you know it, and the Packers will be on a major downturn as young Packer fans are coming up, and you've done nothing to connect with them. You've already seen a younger generation that is abandoning the NFL. You know, I think a lot of these other teams do a great job of engaging their fan base, not just on social, but in all avenues, but especially in places where the young fans are. And I think the Packers kind of take that for granted a little bit. You know, and again, I understand why they might do so, why they think that's a good idea. I think they're doing themselves a disservice and their fan base. But that's just my own personal opinion. Do you think Batman will make a good fit for the Packers? I'm not up on my current player nicknames, I know Batman has appeared twice in the halls of 1265 Lombardi, first in the guise of Amon Green, and then in the guise of Amon Carroll. But as far as who that might be now, I have no idea who you're talking about. Keeper has the Packers taking him at 12. I don't know who that is. Is Montravius Adams being overlooked as a contributor? That's an interesting question. I thought he came on as the year went on, down the stretch last year. It's funny because I know a lot of film guys who kind of break down, the games and took a look at his snaps this offseason. And I know it's clear that he improved, but I still don't see a guy you're going to count on for even 20, 25 snaps a game. He's a great rotational player. And I think right now that's his ceiling. Maybe he takes an unexpected jump, but yeah, I don't know. I like Lancaster a heck of a lot more than Adams. That's not to say Adams can't continue to improve. Maybe he does, but right now I don't want to count on him. Does that mean he's being overlooked? Maybe. Maybe I'm the one overlooking it. Would you rather have Hawk at 12 or Fant at 30? I have no opinion. My name is Paul. This issue is between you all. I mean, I love Hawkinson as a player, but would I take him over Oliver? No. It all is relative on who else is available when you're on the clock, what else is on offer from possible trade scenarios, etc. I would prefer Hawkinson, the player. As for where they're drafted and the value attached to that, I mean, that's for the draft to play out, figure out. When do you think they draft a safety? Probably day 2. Maybe at 30 on day 1. I'd be shocked if they use the 12th pick overall on the safety, but there's a definite possibility they pull the trigger there at 30. But I definitely think in the first round or two they will look to shore up and or augment that position. Because even with the addition of Amos in free agency, they're still woefully lacking in talent there. Will the majority of Packers fans be happy or angry no matter who is picked at 12? Yes is the answer to that question. You've been on Twitter. Have any of the fans pounding the table for AB apologized in light of his recent actions? I don't think there's any apologies necessary. I think people are right to want to see that kind of talent on the field for their favorite team. I get that he's having a back and forth in social media and in the media, but who cares, man? As long as he's scoring touchdowns and putting up points for your favorite team, I don't care what he tweets. All that said, I did find it interesting that now all of this drama, so to speak, is going on. I do wonder what those people, how they would react. But, me personally, I could care less what guys tweet, stuff like that. What's better at 9 a.m., beer or scotch? Yes. Thoughts on Juan Thornhill to the Packers at 30 or 44? Maybe 44. 30 feels a bit rich. But that's just me. Wow. All caps, Big Sam. It's a very important question you got going on here. Will there be a press conference this week? LaFleur/Rodgers. You mean together? I doubt it. I think Rodgers will be available. I do think LaFleur will have a press conference. Does that answer your all caps question? I think AB's next social media beef is going to be with Jimmy Carter. Amazing. Do you think we see any extensions for guys with 1 or 2 years left on their deal? Clark, Martinez, Bakhtiari, Lowry. I think Tom Silverstein laid out a pretty good path for extending Kenny Clark in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel this morning and or last night. It'll be interesting to see how they approach it. I mean, to me, you look at that list that you've just put up there. I mean, Clark is the big fish that you've got to take care of. Let's see. Do I see Jordy coming back? No. Do you see Mike Daniels being brought back after this year? Matthew, a very good question. I would suspect they will probably draft along the defensive line at some point in a couple weeks. And I think that will be with an eye towards being ready and kind of hedging their bets on if they have to allow him to walk, because a third contract, especially on the defensive side of the ball in Green Bay, is a rare thing. And, obviously it takes two to tango, and maybe Mike feels comfortable enough to re-sign in Green Bay for a little less than he'd make out in the open market. But make no mistake, he would make a boatload of bank in free agency, more so than I think the Packers would probably be comfortable giving him heading into a third contract. So a lot to play out there. But again, I would suspect they'll probably draft along the defensive front with an eye towards getting ready to not have to pay Mike if he's set on breaking the bank. Who goes deeper this season, Browns or Packers? Good question, Dusty. Ask me again week 1. Is LaFleur going to use Danny Vitale? I doubt it. You see Green Bay taking a tight end early? No. Would you say wide receiver is a draft need for us? Miguel, that's a good question. I wouldn't necessarily chalk it up as a need. I do think they need to augment the position as far as depth goes. I think if they had to roll out on Sunday afternoon and play a game with what they've got on hand, they'd be more than fine. But as anyone who watches the Packers, has followed them closely over the last couple of years, including last year, if Devontae Adams goes down, suddenly you are short on playmakers and or experience at your wide receiver spot. I think Geronimo Allison is a fine talent, and I think he'll do a lot of damage with Rodgers throwing him the football. It's not like he's scaring you as an athlete. I do think those young guys will continue to come along, but I think you're never going to go wrong continuing to set the pipeline in motion as far as providing the offense with talent at the wide receiver spot. Now, does that mean they have to pull the trigger on one early in the draft? I doubt it, but you never know. How much will Teddy T's scouting impact draft prospects? Brandon, I don't think Ted Thompson's doing a ton of work when it comes to input. I think he's writing up reports and stuff like that. But as Rob Demoski has reported, he's rarely traveling. I don't think he's back in Green Bay for this lead up to the draft. I'm pretty sure he's still down in Texas. His health has taken not a bad turn, so to speak. It's just gotten very, very difficult for him to travel. So, I don't think he's having too much input one way or the other outside of the reports he's writing up. Why not picking up QB late round and then selling them later on? Pats have done it several times. Who used to do that all the time is the Green Bay Packers under Ron Wolf. There was Ty Detmer, Mark Brunell, Matt Hasselbeck, Aaron Brooks. Those were all guys that Ron Wolf selected in the draft and then moved later on. I'm all for it. I think it's a good philosophy. I think it's always smart to have quarterbacks on hand. I guess they kind of tried to do that with Brett Hundley. That didn't work out too well, although they did end up getting something back for him, although it wasn't more than what they, invested in him. But, yeah, I'm all for it. Andy Isabella in the 3rd round? Sure, I wouldn't hate it. I think he'd help the offense, no doubt. Is there a sleeper at 12 that I like? Man, it's hard to say there's a sleeper, right? I mean, this day and age, everybody reads everything about every prospect. I will say at 12, I don't think there's a chance of being disappointed. I'm sure some people will be. But I have, through all the different scenarios of what could happen before they're on the clock at 12, even if it's a trade down, and again, I know some people wouldn't like that, but man, it's hard for me to see a scenario of them picking a player at 12 that I'm not going to be happy with. I mean, it's just there's going to be so much talent available when they're on the clock at 12, regardless of what position it might be in. I think I'm going to be pretty happy regardless of who they pick. How important do you think fullback could be in the new offense, especially since LaFleur wants it more run-centric? Good question, Duncan. It was funny. I was watching the 49ers Monday night game in Lambeau from this past season. Anybody who follows me on Twitter saw me put up a couple clips from that game today. And I was loving how Kyle Shanahan uses the fullback. I actually tweeted about that a couple months ago. And I hope LaFleur kind of continues that tradition, so to speak. I think it can be to the offense's advantage to go power more condensed. And LaFleur has mentioned that he wants to have more condensed formations. keep the defense guessing, you know, have them counter with base personnel and then get that fullback out there in space. Now, it's going to require the correct talent to do so. But, yeah, I hope he continues that kind of down that avenue. We need one of the Devons. I'm down with that, Devon. Let's see what you did there. We should take DK Metcalf. Alex just trying to stir things up. Bring back Kuhn. I don't think so. I think Kuhn's going to work with the team, actually. I think he's going to go work for the Packers in a sense of like doing like radio, TV, what have you. I don't know what capacity, but I think he's doing some kind of media with them. Do you think Kumaro gets more reps this year? I think he proved himself in the very minimal regular season reps he had, and he's got damn good potential. Key thing there is he didn't make mistakes. Anthony, I agree, and I think that's one of the reasons Rodgers liked him so much in the preseason. I don't doubt that there will be opportunities for him. It's up to him to continue to progress as far as not only as a player, but with his kind of rapport with his quarterback. But, yeah, I would agree. I think the sky's kind of the limit. And I really hope they give him some opportunities in the slot because I think he could do a lot of damage there. Uzbekistan's checking in. What's up, man? When is Raji reporting to camp? Nice. If we get a running game, it makes us dangerous. You know, it's funny, David, because so many people are talking about, oh, you know, LaFleur is going to that outside zone run scheme. You know, he's talking about everything flows off the outside zone. Well, you know, everything flows off the outside zone in a lot of offenses, including Mike McCarthy's. I think the biggest difference will be the formations and the amount of practice time and emphasis they put on the running game. You know, remember when Ryan Grant was right here in the studio with me for that Monday night game, for the 49ers game, he told that story about how that month that he was in, or I'm sorry, when he got picked up by the Washington Redskins, in one practice, they practiced the running game more than they would an entire week in Green Bay. You know, and that's when Kyle Shanahan was there. You know, that whole McVay was there. That whole group was there under Mike Shanahan. That's that whole system. It's all predicated, and it's all kind of, you know, they have to emphasize it because the running game must go to open everything else up. So I hope we start seeing that in Green Bay. But we've heard many, many platitudes about the running game around the NFL from numerous coaches throughout the years. It's up to LaFleur to really be, you know, stick to his word there and make it go and make it an emphasis, both in practice, in preseason, and then in the games. Why is this show broadcast on a 2010 MacBook Pro today? I'll have you know, Alex, this is a 2017, I believe, MacBook Pro. And it's because everybody's either in Vegas or on a job. So I'm all by myself. So I can't do anything in the studio by myself without blowing something up. Nobody wants that. If the running game was a New York City borough, which would it be? Oh, God, that's good. Probably the Bronx. It's got to be the Bronx. It's got to be a bit nasty. You got to make things move. It's definitely not Brooklyn. And it ain't Manhattan. God knows it ain't Staten Island. It's Queens or the Bronx, but probably the Bronx. Picked up the draft guide this weekend. Amazing job. Thank you, John. Thanks to everybody who picked it up. You know, you can still get yours right now at cheeseheadtv.com, upper left-hand corner of the homepage. Bring you to the order page. 189 pages of Packers-centric draft goodness. Hope you all can pick it up. I'm going to have to jump. I'm sorry if I couldn't get to your question, everybody. Thanks so much for hopping on. I'll be back tomorrow and every day this week, hopefully. In the meantime, check out everything we do at cheeseheadtv.com. Subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. I want to get to 20,000 subscribers before the draft. I got like 2.5 weeks to make this happen. We're woefully undersubscribed on YouTube. Please, 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 I beg you. On my life, my children's life, please, I want to get to 20,000 subscribers. Subscribe to this channel. I don't care if you hit the thumbs down button. Just subscribe already. Thanks a lot, everybody. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.